Well, Donald Trump's rally is very much in the news. Slate sent a reporter to spend a week covering Donald Trump. What is it like to be part of the Trump press corps? Now, Slate is a liberal site, and it's pretty evident that this particular writer doesn't think much of Donald Trump, calls him a constant liar, and suggests he's a demagogue. Fine. Let's strip that away. What was interesting, and it made some decent points about what it is like to be in the press corps, where on occasion the Republican frontrunner has been known to complain about disgusting reporters and how you're limited in your ability to roam around at these rallies, in part for security reasons, and the various frustrations that go along with covering any candidate. But when you really got down to it, there was these paragraphs in which the Slate reporter said that what's really unthinkable about covering the Trump campaign, there's no big apparatus to deal with the press. Trump has one press secretary and his campaign manager, Hope Hicks and Corey Lewandowski, and there isn't a whole press team to spin and provide information on background and go out to dinner with. There's no pollster. There aren't a lot of outside advisors. I mean, Trump pretty much runs the show. He's the media strategist. He's the pollster who doesn't take polls. He's the guy blasting things out on Twitter. And this is not what journalists are accustomed to. They kind of believe that every campaign should have an infrastructure to deal with the press. And so I think that breeds a certain amount of resentment. What do you mean? There's nobody that we can quote on background as saying, here is what the Trump strategy appears to be. Now, I get that it's frustrating because when you're covering your campaign, you try to develop sources to find out what's going on inside, what kind of advice is the candidate getting, maybe get a little scooplet about something he's going to do the next day. I try to do this too. But Trump's campaign is not built that way. He's paying it for himself. He doesn't have a lot of consultants and hangers-on. So far, that seems to be working for him. But the idea that the press is entitled to this, I think, is a little bit off base. And then the piece ends with speculation about, well, if Trump becomes president, will he kick the New York Times out of the briefing room if there's an article he doesn't like? I mean, all speculation to put him in the most negative light. That's not to say that I don't have any issues with the way the Trump campaign deals with the press, but the notion that we have to sulk because there aren't all these designated deputy communications directors for us to deal with, well, there's nothing in the Constitution that says a candidate has to do that. And I think and here's the final point. There is nothing in the piece about the hundreds and hundreds of interviews that Trump does, not just with TV stars, but he'll call back newspapers. He'll talk to websites. He'll call into radio shows. Yeah, he often talks to Robert Costa of the Washington Post. That was completely left out. So most candidates might have the big apparatus, but they're pretty inaccessible. Say what you want about Donald Trump, he's been anything but inaccessible to the press in this campaign.